Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch. Sisters who watch.
Inside Out 2.
Hey y'all, hey. Welcome to Sisters Who Watch.
I'm Shelby.
And I'm Laura, and we're sisters who watch everything. TV, movies, sports, concerts, and even triggering animated films about managing anxiety. We love to watch, and we love to talk about it even more. Today we're watching
Inside Out
2.
Pixar's sequel to 2015's Inside Out.
Woo woo!
Very
and we have a very special
exciting.
guest today. But before we introduce our special guest, please make sure you are giving Sisters Who Watch 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Spotify, 5 stars, please. And follow us on all our social media platforms at Sisters Who Watch, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're there, so go support us and give us a follow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we also have listener support on Spotify, so you can donate to us monthly. That would be very appreciated. And we have a Zelle. So you can Zelle us, sisterswhowatch at gmail.com. That would be very much so appreciated. And go buy our merch too. Go to our website, sisterswhowatch.com. Go to our shop tab and get yourself some merch. Yes. Thank you guys so much for your support.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it. So now for our special guest, Nikki Meadows is here with us today. Welcome,
Yay.
Nikki.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. You are a content creator and Disney super fan, so perfect for our Inside Out 2 episode.
Yes, super excited to be here. Big Disney fan.
We actually met Nikki in Greece on a walking tour in Athens.
Crazy. I remember I saw Nikki and I was telling Shelby, I was like, wow, she looks so gorgeous in that beautiful dress. I was like, who is that woman? I was like, we need to talk to her.
I was like, oh my gosh, there's other Black people here. I need to go talk to them.
Literally. Too.
Very excited to see you guys.
Black women who travel.
And then Shelby, you guys are sorors. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
It's
usually
amazing.
When I travel, I have something kind of AKA related on, you know? So it's always great to like recognize and connect with fellow sorors.
Nikki, can you tell us about what you do, who you are? Just introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Nikki. I was recently a healthcare recruiter, but I just quit my corporate job. I'm very excited about it because I have launched a business with 2 of my best friends. We are the Brides Bitches, full-blown wedding planning business along with day of coordination, wedding content creation. So if you're wanting fun TikTok videos and reels for your wedding day and just all around wedding planning. So that's a little bit about the Brides Bitches. And then I'm also, I guess now, a full-time content creator too. So I've been doing that for like 3-4 years part-time. So super excited to kind of dive in now that I have more time on my hands.
Amazing.
Yes. And what's your handle so people can follow and see your content?
It's Darling Nikki with the it's part on Instagram and TikTok.
If you're looking for some fun, like just uplifting, bubbly content, particularly around like Disney and Universal or just going to amusement parks, Nikki is great. So give her a follow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Black women do amazing things. Yeah, your content's so fun and just lots of colors, and I love all your dresses that you wear. It's great. So definitely go check out Nikki's page.
Thank you. I like to have fun.
We're here to talk about Inside Out 2. Shelby, can you give us some background on Inside Out?
Yes, as always, here's the logline for the title we are discussing. It's short and sweet. Follows Riley in her teenage years encountering new emotions. Pretty meaty movie, which we'll dive into. And hopefully you all know Inside Out, the original, came out in 2015. So now we have this sequel here 9 years later. And I saw the first movie. I remember I was in college and I normally wouldn't see, animated movies, but everyone was talking about it even then. So I was like, oh, let me go see. This seems good. And I liked it. When did y'all see the first movie?
I do not remember. I think I saw it like around the time that it came out. And I remember thinking, this is a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this on here, but I am not actually particularly a super movie person. So it's a big deal for me to say that I think a movie is a really good movie.
Ooh,
Yes,
high praise.
very high praise. I remember watching it, and when you're not a kid, you're not inclined to watch, animated movies as much, but everyone was talking about it. So I was like, okay, I remember really enjoying it. Everyone was talking about the second movie a lot. Shelby and I, we were like, maybe we'll see it. We're not sure, but then the whole world was talking about Inside Out too. So we're like, okay, we got to go watch this.
We are fans of Disney. I'm not the most intense fan, but we have, reviewed some Disney content in the past on our podcast. So check out our episode on Disney nostalgia featuring the Matcha Talk podcast. We also have reviewed The Marvels, The Little Mermaid, Spider-Verse. So we talk about Disney stuff on here. And Nikki obviously is a Disney fan. When did your fandom begin?
Definitely since childhood. I have always been obsessed with Disney. We would visit Disney several times a year. We didn't live too far away, maybe about an hour away, and we'd go all the time. And my sister and I would just anything Disney. We would watch the movies, we go to the parks, we watch Disney Channel, and the obsession just never really faded.
What's your favorite Disney TV show, and what's your favorite Disney movie?
My favorite Disney Channel show back in the day, Lizzie McGuire. I was such a Lizzie McGuire stan. I was around her age and just going through the evolution of puberty and being in that age, and I just really connected with the show, so it was fun and cute.
That's a really good one. Honestly, Disney Channel was the best growing up. All those shows, whether it was Lizzie McGuire or That's So Raven, Kim Possible, I was just watching Disney 24/7.
Yes. Cheetah Girls, all of it.
Oh, love Cheetah Girls. So good. And then favorite Disney movie, that's a really hard one. I'm going to have to give you my top 3.
Perfect.
Animated classics. Aladdin, Cinderella, Princess and the Frog.
Ooh. For me, I love Mulan. That was just such core for my childhood. It just made me feel like, oh my gosh, women can do anything. It was just so empowering. I love Mulan.
Yeah. I was a really big fan of The Little Mermaid. Maybe it was because of the music and eventually her finding her voice and, being confident. I liked the message, but I was obsessed last year with Halle Bailey. I just thought she was so beautiful in the live action version, and her voice was great. So yeah, I'm a Little Mermaid girl.
Nikki, what did you think of the Little Mermaid reboot last year with Halle Bailey? What's your take?
I loved it. First of all, I cried watching it. When she sang Part of Your World, I was just what a monumental moment to have a Black woman play this traditionally Caucasian character, and that Disney was able to break away from the stereotype, because it's a fictional creature that she's playing, right? It doesn't really matter the color of her skin. And so I think for me, that was a really big part in my love for the film. Looking at the film as a whole, I thought they did an excellent job with the casting. I thought the way that the story moved along was really great. There were a couple of changes that I didn't really love, but as a whole, I was pleased with Disney's take on it, because I am not the biggest Disney live action movie stan. I think there's been quite a few flops.
I do think last year's reboot could have been even better executed, but for the representation, it mattered so much. So for that, I will always be a big fan.
Yes.
Curious, do you have a favorite Disney princess?
Well, it's so hard to choose. So again, I'm just going to give you my top 3. So I'd say from childhood, my favorite, Princess Jasmine. She was brown. I felt like I could see like a little bit of myself in her. She was sassy, the back talk. I was always getting in trouble for talking back. And she was confident and she was independent. And I really liked that about her. I also love Princess Tiana. Representation. She's a go-getter. She's hardworking. And I feel like that's me. She's a dream chaser. And she's built this life for herself. And I see that. I see that in myself too. And then Cinderella, because who doesn't love a rags to riches story and a kind heart?
Clearly you've thought about this so much. I feel like I need to reflect more about my choices. I'm like, why do I like Little Mermaid? What can I learn from her?
Yes. I'm curious, do you collect anything like Disney related? Do you have like the pins and stuff, or the lanyards? Is there anything like that?
No, not really. So like for somebody that is so just like into Disney and into the parks and like into like the magic of everything, I'm very weird about having too much Disney in my home. I like to have just small little subtle Disney touches in my house. So I have one of those like ruggable rugs that there's like Mickey heads in it, but you have to really look very hard at it to see that. I've got a couple Disney mugs in my cabinet and like I've got this like Disney teapot that's very subtle, but yeah, I don't really like to like have just a bunch of Disney stuff lying around. But if there was something that you could say I collected, it'd probably be ears, but that's really just more so to go with all my little park outfits. So
yeah. How many ears do you own?
I don't know, but I can tell you that it's 5, like, you know, those like fabric tote bins?
Yes.
Like 5 of those full.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah.
That's
like,
amazing.
Do you wear a different outfit whenever you go to the parks?
Yes. So that's a part of my Instagram shtick, is that I like to kind of plan these like themed outfits. So sometimes I'll do just like Disney style. So it's just a cute outfit with like Disney touches. So maybe Disney earrings, Disney jewelry, Disney ears, something like that. Maybe there's like a Disney character on what I'm wearing. Sometimes, maybe not. And then the other style is called Disney bounding. And that's when you subtly dress as a Disney character. So maybe if I was going as Snow White, I'd have on like a blue top and a yellow skirt and a red belt. I might have said that out of order or something like that. And then it's really fun because at the park, people will ask you like, oh, are you dressed as Princess Tiana? Are you dressed as Snow White? It just adds a little fun magic to your day and gives you an opportunity to style a cute outfit.
Okay. How do you feel about the term Disney adult? Are you offended by that term? Do you embrace the term? I'm curious because some people use it in like kind of a derogatory way. How do you feel about Disney adult?
I have mixed feelings about the term like Disney adult, because you're right. Some people use it in a really derogatory way, but I'm like sitting here with like mini ears on my head. Like I'm obviously a Disney adult, but I do feel like there are extremes to things. And you've got some Disney adults that are just like full blown, and I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum or like anything like that, but like people that will like fall to the ground or like crying when they see the castle for the first time. And I don't think I'm like that. I'm not that far, but like it is my favorite place to just go, like especially when I was working corporate, after work, get a cocktail, ride a ride, and just like embrace the happiness that's around you. Everybody's smiling. I like to use a good comparison for people out there, sports fans. You have these sports fans that are like obsessed with sports, and they go to these arenas and they watch football every Sunday, and they go to these arenas and they sit down and they watch these games and they're cheering, and they've got all the sports outfits. They've got the jerseys, they've got everything else. And it's like people accept that as an acceptable thing for adults to go and do. And it's truly really the same thing. I think it's up to the eye of the beholder, but like Disney adults, we're just, you know, we're wearing a Mickey shirt, you're wearing a football jersey. You're eating a hot dog at a game, we're eating Casey's corn dogs in front of the castle. It's all the same, really.
Thing.
Long-winded answer.
Such a good comparison.
Thank you.
So speaking of parks, like what is your favorite Disney park?
And ride.
Oh, okay. Animal Kingdom.
Oh,
I love it so much. It's just like the vibes with Animal Kingdom. There's a little culture there. There's like, there's like an Africa section, an Asia section. I like to say that park has a little bit of spice. There's a safari, there's great cocktails, there's really great food at that park. And the ambiance is just really good. It's just a vibe. My favorite ride is also at that park, and I think it's closing, but it's called Dinosaur. And you go on this, like, I don't know if you guys remember the old Disney movie Dinosaur.
No.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan. It scared me as a child. I only watched half of it, but the ride is really good. And actually, Felicia Rashad is in the opening, like, ride scene where they, like, how, like, they'll talk you through a ride, like what to expect, or the little opening scene before you go and actually get on it. Felicia Rashad is actually in it. And I think that's really cool, from the Cosby Show.
Yeah,
Yes.
love her.
And so I just think that's really cool. But anyway, this ride, it takes you like back to the Cretaceous period, and you're in this like out of control time rover in the dark, and like dinosaurs are jumping out at you, and it's super wild, and you're just going all over, and it's really fun and thrilling.
Ooh.
Thank you for the rec.
Yeah. We need to plan a trip to Orlando, Shelby, and we're going to hit up Nikki, and we're going to do all her favorite things at Disney World.
Yes.
That sounds amazing.
It's going to be great.
Thank you for, taking our Disney rapid fire questions. I loved hearing everything you had to say. Okay, so for Inside Out 2, what were y'all's expectations? I mentioned, like, I wasn't rushing to see it, but then I heard it was amazing and it was crushing the box office, so I was like, oh, I have to go see it. What were y'all thinking coming into the movie?
Similar to you, Laura, I was brought in by like the box office and like word of mouth. As someone who like works in entertainment and really cares about like the film industry, to like see how it crushed the box office and was breaking records, I was like, oh, I need to watch this movie. It's been the highest grossing film of 2024 so far, past June Part 2. It has won the box office 3 weekends in a row. It had the highest animated movie worldwide opening ever, past Super Mario Bros. And then it's already passed 1 billion in the box office globally. And it's been the fastest animated film to do so by doing it in 19 days. I mean, crushing it. So when I saw all of this, I was like, okay, I have to get my butt to the theaters and see it.
Yeah.
What about you, Nikki?
So actually didn't see it till yesterday.
Wow.
A little late to the party.
Yeah, a little late to the party. Well, I'd been trying to see it, but like it was sold out. Like every time I went to try to buy tickets, because again, like, this is probably criminal to say on this podcast, but I'm not like the biggest movie person. Like typically I'm like I'll see it when I see it, but I loved the first one so much. It connected with the first one so much. So I was like, okay, this is a movie I'm actually going to go to the theater to see and enjoy.
The last few like Pixar and Disney animation movies hadn't done that well and like hadn't been as good. Like Wish, Luca, Lightyear, Elemental, Strange World, like I didn't see any of those, and they just, like Nikki, they not that great from what I heard, and just the response in the box office. So Disney Animation and Pixar, they really needed a win. So I am happy for them. I think Pixar is such a classic animated studio. They've made so many movies that I love, like The Incredibles and Finding Nemo, Toy Story. So exciting for them to like have this big win because they needed it.
Yes. Really exciting. I failed to mention that another big thing, and it's shocking that how much I love these movies, is I'm not a Pixar stan. I'm not a Pixar girl.
Hot
like
take.
There's a couple of Pixar movies that I like can get with that I like, but like as a whole, if someone's like put on a Disney movie, Pixar is like bottom of my list.
You're a classic girl. You want like
I'm a classic girl, but this movie is up there.
I'm curious. You gave a little thumbs down. We were talking about all the movies from the past year, basically. Did you see any of them? Like, how did you feel about Disney's the past year?
Disappointing. It didn't hit me emotionally. And I think that's something that I have come to expect from Disney movies, is it's to have this emotional tie, bringing in some level of nostalgia, making you feel something. And those movies just didn't make me feel something. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, there's a new generation and maybe they're just not meant for me. Maybe they're meant for the younger generation. They are children's movies after all.
That's fair.
Yes. What I think was great about this movie, right? It was, you know, a children's movie, but it felt very adult, which I think is a winner when Disney movies do that. Also with the cast, I think Disney does a great job with casting usually, and I feel like they added some kind of buzzy names to the cast. Maya Hawke and Io Edebri were in the cast this movie. They played new emotions. Maya Hawke as Anxiety.
I had no idea that Anxiety would be such a main character going into it. But Maya Hawke was great. I thought she did a really good job. Like, her voice was very recognizable. I really like Io Edebri. I'd hoped maybe we'd get a little more from her, but she definitely was more like a minor character. And then, I don't know if you guys heard that Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader were replaced in this movie. They had been in the first one as Disgust and Fear, but apparently during like contract negotiations, they like wanted more pay and Disney was like, no. So they decided not to come back and they got replaced. And I honestly didn't notice till like halfway through the movie. I was listening to Disgust and I was like, that doesn't sound like Mindy Kaling. Wasn't that Mindy before? And then afterwards I looked it up and I was like, oh, she's not in this. Like, I guess she wasn't that missed. It's crazy. Like, I don't know if, like, those minor roles needed such recognizable voices.
And I thought the girl who replaced Mindy Kaling as Disgust, I thought she did a really great job because I knew coming into the movie that she'd been replaced, just seeing things on, like, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. But I was like, she kind of sounded like her. Like, she had the same kind of cadence with her voice. And I was like, well, if they were going to replace her, they picked a good replacement.
Okay, Nikki, what were some of your favorite moments from Inside Out 2? What were some highlights for you?
Oh, man. There were so many just different things. I connected with the character Anxiety a little too much. Like, I was like, wow, okay. I definitely suffer from high functioning anxiety. So I saw myself a lot in that. There were a lot of really funny quips. There is one line that I just thought was so hysterical. But when Fear said, like, he obviously had a little crush on Anxiety. And when he said, what did he say? He was like, I think I can change her. And I just thought that was so funny because, you know, fear and anxiety really tend to go hand in hand. And that's something that really stuck out to me. Something I loved in the first movie, because I rewatched the first movie the night before I went to go see the second one, just to kind of get that refresh. And I feel like Joy is consistently evolving and consistently learning the same lesson that Riley needs all of her emotions in order to be this whole person. And so even though like anxiety took over and everything, that was one of my favorite moments at the end when they all just were able to like come together and realize they all needed to be together in order to make Riley be this full and complete person.
Yes, I totally agree. I loved in the beginning when Joy was like, "Oh, let's just take the bad memories and throw them away." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm triggered." She's like, "We just need the good." So I thought that was great commentary. And then at the end, she was like, "No, Riley needs to feel all the feels, right, to mature and become, you know, a fully developed, you know, young adult." So I thought that was great commentary and really funny, just being like, let's just forget about all the bad things that happen and just focus on the good. And that would remind me of another moment when the emotions were trying to go to the back of the mind. And on the journey, one of the emotions is like, Joy, you're delusional. And she was like, of course I'm delusional. I just thought that was so funny. She's like, how do you think I stay happy all the time? I have to be delusional. I was like, wow, I relate. Like you to be, you know, at peace and happy and joyful, right? You got to live in your delulu, right? So I just really loved that.
Literally my life I'm delusional. These days. I can't. Sometimes I'm like, why am I so at peace? And you know, it's kind of delusional. It is. But hey, I'd rather be in my delulu. Yeah, I'd rather be in my delulu than miserable and just very negative.
Yes.
So
exactly.
I liked how she was like playing hockey, like featuring women in sports and like a typically kind of like male-centric sport. Like I feel like you don't usually see girls and women in that. So I thought it was cool just, seeing women in sports. And particularly, I thought it was nice to have like the older hockey players like welcome Riley, like Valentina. Wasn't sure if Riley had a crush on her or was just like inspired by her, but either way, I thought it was like a cool dynamic to show. And
Yes.
I just thought it was just like everything about the hockey I liked. I liked the hockey setting.
I totally agree. Like, I feel like I really resonated as, a little athlete growing up. She was like, I really want to prove myself to the coach, and I want the older girls to think I'm good, and I want to fit in. Girls just being bosses on the rink. I don't know much about hockey, but I thought that was really cool. And also the diversity on the team. Hockey is a very white sport. So the fact that the head coach was a Black woman, I was like, okay, I see you.
I did really love the diversity in the film. And one thing that I thought that was just so cool is how, how all the girls had the little red streak in the hair.
Yeah.
There was one of the girls who, I don't want to say it wrong, but I believe she was Muslim and she was wearing the hijab, and part of her scarf was red instead of her hair. And I saw that and I was like, that is just the coolest thing.
I love that.
Well done. I also really liked just the emotions like interacting with each other. Like it's like you had the old gang, the old crew, and all of a sudden this new crew comes and you're like jockeying for like power and you're like, what's going on? And eventually them helping each other out, particularly with embarrassment, helping out sadness when sadness like gets back to headquarters and is hiding and trying to help Joy and everyone get back to headquarters. Like I liked that and how able to bridge the differences. Let's work together instead of think only one of us has the right solution.
Another one of my favorite moments was when the puberty button was lighting up and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And and that's how it feels like. They really encapsulated what it feels like to go through puberty. They're like, wait, what? Like, and then they're like, sorry, construction. They're just like breaking down everything. Everything is chaos. And they're like, what's going on? And then all these new emotions show up and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what it's like to actually go through puberty. And you're dealing with all these new emotions and these growing pains. And you're like, how do I process all these things? So I thought that was so smart how they did that. These new emotions breaking in and destroying everything. And you see Riley just like really struggling with how to process all these new emotions.
I love how they'd press the button and they were like, I barely touched it. And Riley was feeling her emotions so hard. And it's like, that's puberty. And you're like angsty and you're snapping or you're crying or you're really happy and you're like feeling everything just so intensely. So I thought that was a really cute little tidbit that they added. And like when they were like on the like stretching themselves out, trying to like push the button as lightly as possible. It was so cute.
So funny. I felt like that part was a little triggering, so I had that more in like a least favorite moment, but I totally get what you're saying. It's just insane to think that your body changes so much and then like your emotions change so much and it's like, oh my gosh, like yeah, there's like a lot you can't even control. Like this 13-year-old is like, why am I so emotional? Like why am I so upset? And it's like your body's changing, girl. It's crazy.
That's it. I also was curious if they were going to address any of like the bodily changes, like maybe like period or something, but they didn't address that, which I'm not surprised by. They didn't.
Didn't Turning Red.
Really? I didn't see that movie.
Yeah, it was okay. Pixar.
Not rushing to see it. Got it.
Won't add it to the list.
It was cute. It was coming of age.
Oh, okay. Good to know. So Disney will go there, but they didn't go there in Inside Out 2.
That whole film is about puberty.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Good to know. I loved, kind of Harry Potter-esque, the Chamber of Secrets, where they go into Riley's secret chamber and they meet like the hot animated crush from that video game. I thought that was so funny. Like I was cackling, and when he did his move where he like scrunched into a ball and was like rolling, and he somehow saved the day. I was like, he better go off. Like I loved that moment so much. And we meet Bluefy and like the Pouchy, my favorites.
I really connected with that film, like way too much. There's a lot of really cute scenes, I felt like.
Yes. There were a lot of really great nuggets in it for sure. So I guess like going on to least favorite moments, I agree with you, Shelby. That all the new emotions coming in and seeing Riley really struggle with how to process her feelings and her yelling at her parents and crying about her friends. Oh my gosh. Also when Riley broke into the coach's room, I was like, what is she doing? That
Brutal.
was unbelievable.
What anxiety will do to you.
I was shook to my core. I was like clutching my popcorn. I was like, no, Riley, no, this is not who you are.
The audacity of her to get up and leave the building in the middle of the night and sneak into the room. How is she doing this at 13 years old? That was unreal. Anxiety, like of course the panic attack scene was like a lot. What did y'all think of the panic attack scene?
So, as someone who has suffered from quite a few panic attacks in the last 6 months, right up to leading to quitting my job, I knew exactly how she was feeling. And it's just this completely out of control feeling. You can't get grounded. You can't like think about anything other than this one thing that's like making you just feel so out of control, and you can't breathe and you can't think, and like sometimes you can't even see. That was probably one of my least favorite parts of the movie because it was so triggering and I connected with it so much. And I was honestly surprised that they put a panic attack in a Disney movie, because I felt like it was an overwhelming scene for the audience as well. One part that I thought that was a really cool tidbit that they added back in is that at the end you start seeing, when she's coming out of it, you see her grounding herself. She's feeling on the bench to like center herself, and she's like, okay, I'm back. This is where I am. I'm sitting on the bench, and like getting the, the feeling under your hands and things like that. And that's something that they say that you should do when you're coming out of a panic attack, is try to get grounded and remember where you are. So I thought that was a cool addition.
I feel like it was a very like authentic portrayal that I initially was like, will kids understand this and know what's going on? Like they might just see anxiety running around and not really understand like if this is a panic attack. But I think it was really smart of them to showcase this, because a lot of times kids may be able to understand things better than we realize. Especially these days, I feel like we keep hearing about how mental health is really tough for students and kids, even more than ever, given the stuff they have to think about, like school shootings and social media. So I think it's a timely story, and to let people know that, yes, it can happen, but you can get through it. And these are like strategies on how to do it.
For sure. I agree, Nikki. That scene was really overwhelming to watch. I was like, whoa, this is intense. I thought it was so interesting how anxiety stems from wanting to plan for the future and wanting to be successful. And I was like, whoa, I'm triggered. I was like, this is too much. I was like, wow. Because you're really motivated and you want to be successful and you want to do all these things. So you're playing out all these different scenarios, and then that becomes really overwhelming. And right, as an overachiever, I was like, oh, I have done this in the past. So yeah, like seeing anxiety, like couldn't get her hands off of those like handles. I was like, oh my gosh, like this, it was a lot. I was like, how do kids understand what this means? Because it felt so adult to me as a child. There were a bunch of kids in the theater I was at. I did not know what anxiety was until, I don't know, high school. It didn't become a super common term until the past like 10, 15 years, at least in my brain. Like I didn't know what anxiety was as a kid. So I'm like, do these kids understand this? It felt like a really intense scene for me as an adult. And I was like, how are kids processing and understanding this? Like, did you think that was too adult for kids to really understand?
I thought so. And that was something that was being commonly said about the first Inside Out, is that it's a kids movie, but it's really for adults because kids don't understand those concepts yet. Or maybe we just think that, but the kids actually do get it. I don't know. I'd be curious. There was something you had said about anxiety when she couldn't get her hands off the thing. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting, because they're doing a play on being frozen with anxiety. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, not really, but like, I thought it was interesting, like, and smart and clever.
everything about the movie you can tell was very thought out and deliberate, and like everything
Yes.
from, like you mentioned, like the red piece on the hijab to anxiety freezing her hands. Like everything was very well planned and written, which I appreciate.
There was this moment when Joy said something about like, maybe that's just growing up. That means you feel less joy. And I was like,
Yes.
Brutal.
oh my God. It hit way too hard, way too close to home.
Yes. That's such a good point. I thought the same thing. I was like, wow, Joy really came for all of us just then. She really did. And that's why, people come for Disney adults, but like there's so much joy and we in Disney and that culture, and as adults like we lose so much of that. So it's like we need to embrace, our inner child, because Joy made a great point, like as an adult so many people just don't experience that anymore.
One of my sayings, like mantras that I like to live by, is choose joy, because I do think it's a decision, right? Like life is so difficult and there's so many things going on that you have to kind of choose to be hopeful and at peace and positive, but it's difficult. And I do think our world needs more joy. So hopefully we can all try and choose it more.
That's a good least favorite moment. Okay, are we ready for our game red flag,
Game
green flag? 1, 2,
time.
3. So first, Nikki, is it a red flag to over plan for the future and prepare for all the outcomes?
Ooh. I mean, I guess technically yes, but I'm somebody that does those things because I'm like so just high functioning anxiety. I'm like always looking for all the outcomes. But I realize after watching that movie that like it's not a good thing and that it's okay sometimes to live in the moment.
Yes, that's a great point. I guess I didn't really realize or make that connection that anxiety comes from, over planning and being over prepared and thinking about your future. And I was like, whoa, I felt very called out. So I guess, it is a red flag. Live a bit more in the moment.
I think there's a balance, because I do think it's important to have goals and want to achieve things and plan. But at the same time, you need to live in the moment and not overthink things. I think there's a fine line between being a planner and overthinking. And I feel like I do it all the time, right? There's so much going on in your head and you're like, oh, should I do this or that? Or what will happen if this happens? And then it's actually, let me relax and try and like focus on one thing at a time. Let's take it down a notch. Deep breath. Maybe do some journaling, go for a walk, and come back to it. It's hard. I feel like red flag is strong, but I do think in the context of like this movie, and particularly like preparing for every possible outcome, there's no way you can do that. So it is a bit of a red flag. Like it's kind of irrational. Like there's no way you can plan for every possible outcome. Okay, our next question for you, Nikki. Is it a green flag to be joyful all the time?
No.
Ooh.
I think it's important to like feel all your feelings. And I think that this is a good kickback to the first movie, actually, where Joy is learning that it's so important for sadness to be included in the picture, because sometimes, even though it's a sad memory, it's an important memory. It's a nostalgic memory. Like when, Riley moves away and she's thinking back to her old hockey team, her old friends, whatever. It's like, it's bittersweet, right? She loves them and she's happy about those relationships, but she's sad because she misses them. All emotions are important to have because they're all necessary and to make the fundamentals of who we are as a person. If we're happy all the time, then we'd never miss anything, or we wouldn't care that our best friend lives across the country and we never got to see her and things like that. So
100% agree. I definitely am someone who tries to like focus on joy and having joy, but you also need to be able to process, like you said, the sad moments, the frustrating moments, like when you're mad, basically all of the emotions in Inside Out. Like you shouldn't just only have one. Like it's not good to just be fearful or just be, disgusted. You need to be able to have a balance of all of them. Yeah, don't live in a constant state of disgust.
No. Yeah, I totally agree. Joy, just throwing all of the non-joyful moments to the back of the brain, like you can't function, right?
No.
Just on all the joyful things that's happened in your life. You have to learn from the hard moments. Before we started recording, we were talking about, our jobs and being laid off, right? I was laid off last year, and without that, I wouldn't have been able, right, to do this podcast and to do all these other amazing things.
Travel
Would
the
we have even
world.
met you in Greece, right? Like,
Yeah.
we went
Right?
to Greece because I was laid off and didn't have a job. So Shelby and I were like, let's do a trip during this time, right? So even you have to have the bad moments to experience all the joyful and good things. So it is not a green flag to be joyful all the time. Yes.
Love that.
Overall thoughts, is Inside Out 2 a wait or a watch?
A watch. And that means
Yes.
a lot coming from me.
The non-movie girl.
Like,
Yes.
I legitimately am considering going to see it again. And I cried. Did
Wow.
you guys cry?
Yes. During that anxiety scene, I was like, oh my gosh. Yes, I
Wow.
did.
Oh my gosh, I didn't. And I feel like I cry a lot, but I did not cry.
Maybe
But
it was
it
just
was
the
emotional.
anxiety girlies rise up moment.
Maybe.
But your point about maybe seeing it again, like I'm currently in Mississippi because we're celebrating our grandfather's 90th birthday. And I feel like Inside Out 2 could be something he might like. So I would be down to see it again with him. Like he's done like counseling and is very focused on mental health. And I'm like, I could see him enjoying it, you know?
Yes. Inside Out 2 would be a great grandpa movie. I feel like the grandpas would love Inside Out 2. So,
Yeah.
great idea.
My
Maybe
sister
for everyone.
saw it twice.
Oh, wow.
She's a therapist, actually. And so it was so cute. The second time she saw it, she was like taking all these notes and stuff for like her patients. And like she ran out of room on her paper. So she started writing on the side of the popcorn box. I just thought it was the cutest thing.
Oh, that's amazing.
I love that.
I agree. I think it's a watch. There was a lot of hype, lots of buzz, everyone seeing the movie, biggest movie of the past year. I heard it's the first movie since Barbie to surpass 1 billion worldwide. So,
It
biggest
is.
movie since Barbie, like, that's huge. Yes. Claps for sure. The friend I went with was like, it was a little predictable. And I was like, that's fair. That's fair. Like, we knew that the anxiety was gonna, it was building. You kind of could feel that coming. And then at the end, Joy is like, Riley needs to feel all her emotions. So I do kind of get that, it was a bit predictable, but I do think it was really well done, how it all came together. And I will say, like, leaving the theater, I definitely felt like a little on edge. I was like, whoa, that was a lot. Like, I thought the movie was a little overwhelming in that way, right? If you have experienced like anxiety in any way, like it was just like a lot. So I did enjoy it, but I think that's why I was like, this is a kid's movie. It just felt very, mature and definitely a little triggering for some people. Like I've never had a panic attack, but I was like, I can't even imagine if you've like really experienced this, like this would be really hard to watch. So I did think about that when I was leaving.
Yeah, I definitely left feeling like, whoa. And like, while yes, the movie, like ultimately, yes, it's predictable. It's a Disney movie. Everything's going to be okay in the end, whatever. I do think that the takeaway from that film is more about the lessons along the way and the things that you like are learning about like just fundamental cognitive emotion. Am I saying that right? I don't know. I think it's more about like hearing those things and learning about those things. And it's truly a reminder to the adults that like, it's okay to not just be joyful all the time, but trying to find balance in your emotions and the way that you feel. And it's okay to let anxiety sit in that armchair. And she's an important part because she helps to keep you from maybe making too many mistakes or, leaving your keys locked in your car or just like whatever, but not to let her take the driver's seat all the time and let her sit in that armchair too. And those were more my takeaways from the film.
I am aligned with y'all. I'm also a watch. I hadn't seen like an animated movie in theaters since Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So it's been a minute. And I definitely think this movie delivered. it was definitely super hyped. So maybe my expectations coming in were like really high, and maybe they just reached like high instead of very high. But I enjoyed it, and I do think it was very resonant for like the millennial Gen Z person. It was good to feel represented, even if there was triggering at moments.
I agree. So on to our what to watch segment. Shelby, what else is coming out related to Disney?
Yeah, so of course, like Nikki, you could rewatch the first Inside Out if you're interested. Get all the Disney movie fixes. And then we have some big Disney films coming up this year. First, we have some Marvel characters coming back. We have Deadpool and Wolverine coming out in late July. So that'll be exciting for all the Marvel fans. Haven't had a Marvel movie this year at all yet. So it's highly anticipated. Moana 2 is coming out later this fall on Thanksgiving. And it initially was supposed to be a TV show on Disney Plus, but they changed it into a sequel. It's coming out in theaters because I think they were excited about it. They're like, whoa, no, this should be in theaters. Because apparently the first Moana did really well. So I don't know if I've seen the first one, but there's a lot of buzz already for the second. So I'm very intrigued. And then lastly, I think this is one of Laura's most anticipated for the year. Mufasa, The Lion King, the prequel, is coming out as well at the end of the year. So a lot of Disney movies to still come.
Lots. And none original IP. LOL. Shelby and I have talked about this a lot. Lots of reboots, lots of prequels, lots of
sequels.
Yeah, just copy paste. What are any of these? Are you looking forward to any of these, Nikki?
I was so disappointed by the live action Lion King, which we call it live action because it's CGI. Yeah. I'm really hopeful that they will get a chance at redemption with Mufasa. I'll probably wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. But I'll watch it. And I am excited about Moana, but I'll probably wait for it to come out on Disney Plus. Unless people are clamoring about it, then I will go to the theater to see it.
I agree with you. The live action Lion King was not great. And I was so excited because I love the animated Lion King. And plus Beyonce was in it. I was like, oh my gosh. So everything, I was like, check. And then I saw it. I was like, the expectations were really high and it was just did not deliver. So part of me is like, why are we doing a Mufasa CGI Lion King? I just don't really understand. I don't think it makes sense. Who asked for that? Who wants to see it? So I'm not really looking forward to that. I guess it was in my most highly anticipated movies. I
Laura.
Don't remember that. We do episodes at the beginning of the year of our most highly anticipated movies. Maybe because I was intrigued. But I don't really understand.
Go back and listen to the episode, Laura.
We all need to go back and listen to that episode to realize
I stand by my picks, so yeah.
Yeah. But I think it'll be interesting to see how they reinvent the Lion King again. So I think Deadpool and Wolverine I'll likely see. Nikki, are you a big Marvel fan?
I'm not a mega fan, but I do really enjoy Marvel movies.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Marvel movie or superhero?
I do. Doctor Strange.
Oh no! Curveball.
Why?
I just really liked it. I don't know. I just really liked it. And
I'm surprised.
It's a really good movie. And then Black Panther.
Of course. Wakanda Forever, of course.
Representation is gonna get me every time.
I mean, every time. Come on. I feel we need another cute young Black woman in a Disney movie. I feel like we haven't had that. Tiana, I feel she's one of the only. Is she not the only one?
She's the only one. I mean, we have Afro Latina with
Wish.
Wish. I can't remember her name right now.
Yes.
But we need another Black princess.
Yes, I agree. Isn't that wild? Tiana, it was just Tiana until 6 months ago. That's really crazy.
Literally, it's crazy. And then Asha. Asha's not even a princess. So wow. I don't know. We need more. We gotta figure it out.
What else are you watching these days and enjoying? You said you're not into movies too much. Are there?
I can't say I'm watching it yet, but I'm about to start it. The new season of House of Dragon.
Oh, Shelby, you watched that, right?
No, I watched Game of Thrones, but
So,
the first episode of
one?
season. No, the first episode of season 1 was way too gory for me. The birth scene where the mom dies took me out. I was like, I'm done.
They stopped doing that after. They do show birth scenes, but they're not that bad.
Okay, like that was like too much for me. I was like, that meme where the guy's just doing the peace signs.
Something I really like about House of Dragon is it's less gory and there's less sexual assault than in Game of Thrones, because those were two things I just didn't really like about Game of Thrones. And I was like, okay, can't you just allude to it? You have to show us the whole assault. Like, I hated that. It made me very uncomfortable. And so I don't know about season 2, but there's a lot less of that in season 1. So,
okay,
that's good.
So this is, a few people have said that to me, and I'm like, oh, maybe I just have to get through the first episode. But it was a lot. Yeah,
I'll just fast forward the birth scene.
Yeah, true. Just skip that part.
And then Emily in Paris is coming back.
Ooh.
I don't know if you guys have watched that one.
When I was doing my travels last year, I went to Paris and everyone was like, you have to watch Emily in Paris to prepare for your trip. So I watched it, like the first 2 episodes. It's very fun and very cute. So I get why people like it.
Yeah. It's me
in
a show.
I've never seen it. Yes. Oh, it is?
Yes.
Ooh.
Very campy, over the top.
It's just like, if you want like nonsensical, like you can like be working while you're watching it. Like, you don't have to like pay attention too hard. What else?
I can't go wrong. We love a light show. That's why I watch so much reality. So I get it. You don't always need something intense.
Always rewatching Gossip Girl. Always.
Classic. Are you Team Blair or Team Serena?
Totally Team Blair.
Yeah.
Love her.
Woo!
Love her. I am a Blair. Deep down.
Yes. You have the same
Blair
aesthetic. 100%. Yes.
That's the compliment of the year. I can go now.
I can't. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Nikki, for being here. This has been so much fun. Talking about Inside Out. Yes. Of course. Thank you.
And before we go, you have to remind everyone like where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram or TikTok at It's Starling Nikki. And you can also find me over at The Brides Bitches on the internet, or the.brides.bitches on TikTok and Instagram.
Amazing. Everyone go support. Nikki's great, and I am excited to see all that you continue to do now on this post-corporate era. Very exciting. New chapter. It's going to be great.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yes, amazing. And yes, go support Nikki, go follow her, show her some love online. And if you enjoyed this episode of Sisters Who Watch, show us some love. Give us 5 stars. Give us 5 stars wherever you listen. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, please. And go follow us on Instagram at Sisters Who Watch. Also, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're there, all at Sisters Who Watch. Go to our website, sisterswhowatch.com, and buy our merch. Go to our shop tab. You can get yourself a hat, a crop top, a sweatshirt, and you can Zelle us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. Send us some money and activate listener support on Spotify too. You can support us that way as well.
Yes, and we want to hear from y'all. You can comment on our social media posts, respond to our Q&As and polls on Spotify. You can email us at sisterswhowatch@gmail.com. You can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also comment on our YouTube channel. So many options. We want to hear from y'all, and we're so grateful for your support. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Nikki.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay watching.
Stay watching.